It's going. Okay, where's that?
All right. Welcome, everyone.
Counselor Nishioka. Yes, there's an email from Counselor Gwynn dated January 21st, 10:36 in the morning. I have a conflict and won't be able to attend the meeting in February.
Great. Thank you for confirming that. All right, everyone. I'm calling to order the City of Salem Solid Waste Committee for Thursday, February 19th, 2026 to order. Will my fellow counselors please identify themselves?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Dr. Urban Brown, Ward 5.
Mickey Varney, Ward 8.
And I neglected, I think, to say my name, Counselor Nishioka. Counselor Gwynn is not with us, but we do have a quorum, so we will move forward. Does staff want to introduce themselves, especially since we don't have Ryan officially with us, but he is today, so I'll go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Callie Landenbach, Budget Manager.
Ryan Zink,
Sitting on the sidelines.
as a guest today.
Shimon Thomas, Admin Analyst.
Juliana Douglas, Common Action Plan Manager.
Nitin Joshi, Environmental Information Technology Manager. Josh Eggleston, Chief Financial Officer.
Great, thank you all very much. Then we on the agenda, we have approval of the minutes from November 13th.
I move approval of the minutes from November 13th.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good.
Aye.
Quorum is here. We passed that. Public comment. We're now to public comment. We have one person signed up, and we all know and appreciate Mr. Shepke. Would you like to step forward and provide your?
Thank you. Here.
And it's yes, that's fine. Does anyone have
I will do the timer.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I'm here representing 350 Salem today, and I have two things to talk about. First of all, very briefly, I need to say that 350 Salem was very pleased about this. I hope you read about it in the Statesman Journal.
You might just mention, since some people might be online, what the article is about.
About Reworld Marion Garbage Incinerator sale to Houston Company fails.
Okay.
We were very pleased about that. And then we have reviewed the draft policy statement.
Mhm.
So I wanted to comment on that. First of all, we like the first paragraph where you talk about the environmental justice issues. That's great. We don't like your use of the word waste to energy facilities, because that is a term used by proponents of incineration. I think you should just use the neutral term incineration is our recommendation. And then our big recommendation is that, we've been advocating for you to pursue zero waste. And so we were very disappointed that that term does not appear anywhere in this policy statement. And we think it should, and we note that the term zero waste, which of course refers to the aspirational goal of diverting 90% of solid waste away from incinerators and landfills, et cetera. That appears 9 times in the Salem Climate Action Plan, which you have adopted. And I'm handing out a page from that for everybody at the table here. It appears 9 times in the Salem Climate Action Plan. So we are wondering why it can't appear in this. This speaks of things obviously that are close to zero waste, but it doesn't say zero waste. And we think, as we've said to you before, that the city of Salem should have a zero waste goal. Is that aspirational? Absolutely. But so is, net zero carbon emissions reduction by 2050, which you've adopted that goal. So we would like to see this document used the term zero waste. And we don't understand why it can appear 9 times in the climate action plan and not appear in a solid waste policy. Okay,
All right, great, thank
okay,
you.
thank you.
All right, so that completes public comment unless there's, I know that we have guests, but I don't think anybody, is there anybody online that wanted to give any public comment? Okay, great. We don't have any action items, and so we're now to management update and information items. And Callie, is that going to be you that's going to be doing that?
I would be happy to introduce, but I will not be doing most of the speaking for this section.
Okay, all right. Well, because we're in this transition of staff, for anyone watching this meeting or potentially watching in the future, Mr. Zink, Ryan Zink, who has served as our staff support for this committee, has taken a new position, and he's here kindly to sort of help facilitate any questions or situations while we are transitioning and finding new person to take over. So that's just kind of fills you in on where we are with staff. So it becomes up to us to make sure we're getting it all done. All right, so go ahead.
Okay, well, we didn't have any upcoming events that came up on the radar to share with this group this time. So on to 5B. Shane Kinsey from Suburban will be coming to talk about the contamination reduction plan.
Yeah, please come.
I think Ryan has the slideshow.
And is it,
Someone does.
and is this
Yeah, I'm kidding.
gonna be mainly on what's going on with the materials management?
Yeah, Ryan asked me to kind of just share kind of
Perfect.
what we presented as to what the contamination reduction game plan is for all of Marion County.
Wonderful. And then I basically summarized our last meeting, and I can talk to that after we've seen the presentations. Great.
Awesome. Yeah, so this is the exact presentation that we presented at the, I think it was November in that meeting or December.
December.
I meant December. And so this got approved by the MAC. There are a couple things in here that Marion County. I don't know how to exactly explain. Brian could probably answer it, but I'll just go through it and then we'll kind of go through some of the adjustments Marion County has kind of made to it. So let's see, how do I do this?
Arrow.
I go arrow down. Oh, there you go. So this is just kind of an overview of the amount of residents that are,
We're gonna try to put you off to the side there.
it's just kind of evolved. This is from our cost of service that we put together as a haulers association. So this is the number of total residential customers we have. And keep in mind, this isn't population. These are essentially household customers.
Mhm.
And that's how many recycling carts we have, which is almost 97% that participation rate.
That's really good, isn't it? As long as they're putting the right stuff.
Yeah, right.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Obviously, West Salem, is this Marion County only, or does it include?
That includes Polk County, I believe.
Okay,
So yeah, that's all members who are representative of all of them.
right.
So it's all of Salem and then the rest of Marion County, I believe is that number.
Okay, thank you.
That's kind of the jurisdiction that our Haulers Association, we all
Okay, thank you.
cover in our cost of service. This page here, so I don't know how much to get in the weeds with you folks here, but essentially through the RMA Act, DEQ came up with essentially choices that we can make to get funding for contamination reduction. This whole program is specific to reducing the contamination in whether it's single family, multifamily, you had options. And so we as a group at MAC chose to pursue single family contamination reduction. So those are your blue carts that you see out at the curb. And I say blue carts, but you'll see The options we chose here is to standardize the colors for the recycling bins, which in the city of Silverton, they actually at one point had red recycling bins. So part of the program that we're gonna be asking to spend the money on is to get rid of those red carts and have them be blue, so it's standard across the entire county.
So it not only across the entire county, but also in
All the cities.
in the city boundaries.
Yep.
So that everyone has the same containers so that it can
Makes
be,
sense.
everybody's working at the same level of understanding and carts are similar colors, so it's not a mix up for people.
Exactly. It wasn't a whole lot. I think it's like 300 or 400 cards. So it was a pretty easy one to just tackle. The other one we wanted to do was this mailer option. So we were gonna send out these mailers that has the messaging of contamination reduction on it. And we have examples of that, so I'll just keep moving through. The
Okay.
card tags will come into play later, so we can talk about that. So these are the 400 cards that we're gonna replace there in Silverton. And that's kind of the costs associated with that. Yeah, I'll have you do that, yeah, I see.
Hopefully I can,
There you go.
there's no good place to put it, is there?
No, there is no good place to put
It
it.
depends on the slide.
Here, let's just do that.
There we go. Oh, we'll figure it out.
So while this doesn't have anything to do with city of Salem, the funding is coming from all these communities, and so the idea is to pool all of the funding from all the cities and the county. And pool all the funds together so we all do one program. So while this doesn't directly affect city of Salem, this program is getting funding from the city of Silverton, so this is. All money is pooled together and it's all getting played out throughout the county and the communities. Is there any questions on this piece?
I think maybe it would be helpful to just clarify how, again, I know that this committee has, but it's not a bad idea to re-clarify that the others are having to put money in and Salem and other cities have selected the fact that Marion County will pass through, basically it's a pass through, so that the funding for these costs of education and getting cards are, even though we see it separated by cities, it's actually going through Marion County, which is then making sure it's happening. Maybe you could say it better, Brian.
Sure, I mean, I can speak to that. So yes, almost this time last year, I think it was the middle of the year, we came to the Salem Solid Waste Committee and said, hey, this is a program and we would like to, there's a funding allocation or funding authorization. And we designated that we might, for this specific this specific funding stream of the $3 per capita, that we didn't know what the future looked like. We didn't know which programs we were going to, which path we were going to go down. So we designated that we as a city may use some of this funding. We authorized or designated the county as a possible user or provider of services. We also designated all of our haulers and also garden services as a possible provider of services specific to contamination reduction. And so over this last number of months through the MMAC and then working with the haulers have come up with a plan. We've through the MMAC have came to that conclusion that really we need to be focusing all these efforts through allowing the county to focus those efforts and be the central point, if you will, of that funding.
That's what I was looking for.
Yes,
The
yeah.
central point, yes.
And so the city is currently in the process, and other cities within Marion County have also, but we're in the formalizing that authorization where we say, yes, we authorize CAA, the Producer Responsible Organization, to send that money directly to the county on our behalf so that they can lump all that money together and use that for the programming.
For the whole region,
For
basically,
the whole
the
region.
established
Yeah,
region.
doing it on a regional level.
And that the primary goal that we were looking at is reduction in recycling contamination.
Yeah,
And
this
so-
funding is specific to any elements around contamination reduction.
And so by having uniformity within the color cards, that helps. It's also going to have uniformity within the education literature that goes out to everybody, so everyone's getting the same information and understands what can and cannot go into the blue containers. It also helps again with that collective group so that we can all speak the same language, basically.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I just feel that it's always a good idea to sort of summarize a little bit of what we're all trying to do, and that we're trying to do it collectively.
Absolutely.
Do either of you have any questions at this point? Okay, go right ahead.
Go on to the next slide here. Except for it's not going to the next slide. You click something, right?
Right now.
There we go. Okay. So this is another piece of the pie here. So the cards was the first thing, and then this is a mailer was one of the options that DEQ gave us that we could spend this money on. Well, we kind of took that a step farther, and all the haulers, we send out these recycling calendar magnets that go on people's fridges, and each year we send out stickers for the new calendar year that you could put on top of it. So we kind of took that idea and we put it towards the recycling. This kind of,
We can remove.
yeah, it's still making on a bit, but this is what it would look like on the right side here. And so it's kind of an education piece, but then it also has to specifically say the word no contaminants. Like there's specific messaging that has to be on these to qualify for the funding. And so this is kind of what it would look like. And yeah, we would put it on the fridge, and if anything changes on this, it's just like our recycling counters where we could easily just send stickers out through the mail rather than having to do a whole nother magnet.
Mhm.
So we kind of like that idea. And this kind of the cost associated with it.
And that was still an unknown until it happens, but
Yeah,
you were able to get a pretty good estimate based on all of the research that you had done.
correct. So it's kind of broken down into three categories, A, B, and C. So the A is like the cards, it's like the physical things that we would do to reduce the contamination. Then as we get into B and C, it kind of goes into the secondary. Once you see contamination, what are you gonna do about it? Kind of.
Yeah,
So
we had a lot of discussion on that.
yeah, there's a lot of great ideas, and so it took some time to kind of work through that, but this is what we had come up with. So these cart tags here on the right side of the screen, there would be a front and back kind of deal. And so when the driver sees a contamination, they would stop, tag the cart, and then on the left side there, the oops part, they would check off what they found in the as a contaminant.
And the recycling, that was a contaminant.
And they would leave that on the cart. And there's been some debate on whether it should be on the cart or kind of go up to the door and hang it on the door. So there's still that option too, but that's kind of the thought process here. So each time we find a contamination, and when we dump, it's when we're dumping in the hopper, we can see it in the camera. That's kind of what we're imagining happening here. Because if you look on the cost of it, we had to try to find how to quantify, the physical cost of the cart tag, but also the labor cost it takes for a driver to stop what he's doing,
Get out.
do all that work. And then on top of that, once they put the contamination on the tablet, that now goes to the office staff. Now they have to take that and spend time reaching out to the customer and all that. So we had to put a number to it. And so this is our math that we figured for that. And the reason why we do that is if this funding is out there for contamination reduction, why would the ratepayer have to pay for it and go through the cost of service? We should get the funding to pay for all that the RMA is requiring. So that's kind of the whole thought process there. Probably kind of confusing. So are there questions on kind of how this cart tag thing works or concerns with it?
Counselor Varn.
Thank you. How is the tag attached? What does it look like?
So that's where the kind of the debates came in, and so I think at where we ended with, we can get ones that have like holes at the top, where you can either put it on the handle of the cart, or you can hang it on the, like a door handle.
Okay,
So that part still can be fleshed out. That's not a huge cost difference. We could probably adjust that on the fly, but
are they gonna be biodegradable or something? I'm just thinking of them blowing off or falling.
these are like your cardstock paper, so they are recyclable.
Uh-huh.
Or they could go into the.
Okay.
So,
That was-
so take it off and put it right.
That's funny, that's what the concern was originally, because in the past, what our drivers would do is they'd open the lid and then pinch it, so it's
I'm
on
gonna just slip
on the
in.
handle, but then a lot of people would be like, oh, what's this? It must have fell out without even looking at it. Where they end up. So that's where the thought process of getting a door hanger and hanging it on the door, and it's farther away from the cart that it could go in, so.
Yeah, boy, there are all kinds of ideas to think
Oh,
about that, right?
Trust me, there was how many of us? There's 20 or something. We all were coming up with ideas.
Yeah, I think going to the door is too time consuming,
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
definitely.
Especially it depends, the cart might be just 10 feet from the front door, or it could be way down a driveway and around the corner and, so who knows, but.
Right, exactly.
Dr. Brown, we've had to scrunch down the screen so I can't see you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to speak up.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Can I ask one more question? Was there any discussion about what to do for repeat offenders?
Oh, yes,
That's
that
Or
was.
is that picking up?
Obviously, a lot of discussion on that.
So that's category C, I believe, here next. So we'll get, okay, let's finish
We'll
B.
get there.
Yeah, so B, DEQ, they made this document, so we get to choose 1, 2, or 3. So we chose B2. So as you read there, we need to document identified contamination, right, and provide feedback. That's what the card tag is. The driver is identifying the contamination, tagging the cart, and giving that feedback to the customer. The second bullet point is providing that information on the container or doorstep same day, and follow up within 5 business days with an email, text, or phone call. So the card tag is that first part of it, and then the reason why the admin staff have to get involved is because we have to follow up then from the admin side of it. So and you get the option of email, text, phone call. It's the customer preference is usually what we would go with. And then ensuring feedback is responsive to the needs of diverse populations. And so we do have the ability to make those tags in multiple languages. So any information that we need to get to the residents, we have the ability to do that.
So I may interrupt for just a moment. These were different options, B1, B2, B3, that we needed to select. And so that brought up all the discussion about opportunities or mechanisms to help the offenders know what was the problem. And so again, we had very robust discussion about should we select B1, B2, or B3. And there were then other things that we also had to have specific ones decided on. And so B2 was what the group landed on for this. Like trying to educate them, provide them with information and a follow-up message, because what if that cart just got slipped into the recycling and they didn't really pay attention? So they'd have a follow-up call or a text, depending upon what their preferences were. And that language would be, if there was a different language or a different need from the diverse population, that would be determined how that could get to them.
Councilman Nishioka, I have a question. Is that okay?
Yes.
So, and maybe it's been answered, but what happens if the person or the family can't afford the fine?
So at this point, there is no fine. So this is only just feedback to the customer. So there's no
Okay.
fine at this point.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So that kind of does lead though into our next, so category C here. So this is just the kind of the total estimated cost of the card tags. It's probably, could be more, could be less than that, depending on how many we.
So that's what it will cost all of the groups, basically the money that's put in and Marion County manages it. This is the estimated cost of having these cart signs and the OOP signs.
I think that was based on 15,000 card tags.
Yeah, and based on a history of past problems, basically, how many times it's contamination.
And how many languages are we doing these in? Do we
Well,
know?
it looked like the QR code that's on the one had, at least four languages?
Yeah, so the ones the generic ones will be in English. We can talk about what.
English and Spanish.
Oh, and Spanish. Oh, yeah, you're right. Spanish is on all the generic ones. Then that
The QR code
the
that's.
QR code that's on there, there's a lot of.
I think I saw at least four.
Oh, it's more.
languages.
There's four examples, but when you click on the QR
Oh.
code or go on there, there's like 20 different languages.
So somebody would click on the QR code and have the opportunities to select from at least 20, I'm hearing.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So we can keep this moving here. So yeah, here's category C. And so I guess maybe I'll just read quickly through the bullet
Sure.
points. So local government service provider has documented the generator is a source. So basically you're identifying that they're a
Repeat
Repeated.
offender.
offender. And what we determined down below is a customer gets 3 warnings within 6 months. After that third one, they become a repeat offender. That's kind of how we define that. After each documented instance of significant contamination, feedback was provided that is responsive to the needs of the diverse populations. Customer was notified using 2 different types of outreach. Customer is offered remedy options. Customer is sent a warning letter and customer receipt is verified. Customer is charged with a contamination fee or a customer's recycling container is temporarily removed. And so from here, as you go through the red, we kind of, and we've verified this through DEQ that skipping a customer is enough of a penalty that it counts on for this C1 category.
So see, okay,
Because back to Dr. Brown's point, we've had problems in the past of trying to charge people contamination fees. There's a lot of confusion around it. There's a lot of pain and heartache that kind of goes around with on the admin side for the haulers too. So we don't want to do that. There is arguments that money does talk, it does work and it helps clean it up, but we're not trying to scare people into recycling. So if we go through the red part, our plan is after 3 warnings, the customer's recycling container will be temporarily skipped. To have the cart serviced again, the customer must contact the hauler by phone or in person. And at that time, the hauler will provide an educational recycling packet and proceed with dumping the cart. So it's kind of a required re-education before we will dump the cart again. And that's kind of what we had come up with as a way to re-educate them without a big, heavy
without
monetarily
penalizing them.
So in that same kind of line of thinking, so at the bottom, you give us the admin cost and you also let us know what the percentage will be like, for the next 6 months, whatever. Are we actually saving money if you look back, or do you think we're actually losing money?
See, I'm not quite sure. how to answer that.
So the cost from this is coming from basically the state funding for it.
Right.
It's not a cost that's going to come from the cities directly. And the biggest thing that we have to do is not have contamination or have
Right.
no more than 10% contamination in the recycling materials. Because if we have high numbers of contamination, then the organizations that take that will stop taking it. And then we end up with a bigger problem of not having any place for our recycling materials to go. So what we are trying to do is have people educated and are following the regulations of approved recycling materials. And what if somebody is a constant offender after 3 times, then their recycling bin
Mm-hmm.
will not be picked up. But they're
Okay.
not charged a fee.
Yeah, I get that part. The part I'm getting kind of stuck on is that second from the last is predicting that 750 recycling carts will be skipped. How did we come up with that prediction of 750? Like statistically, explain to me how you chose 750.
Sure, yeah, no, I can answer that part. So this funding right now that we're trying to get everything lined up with still
Organized.
and get organized, it ends July 1st, right?
Yeah, June 30th.
So that's why we had this next 6 months, because at the time we were hoping for a Jan 1 start date. So
Oh,
if you think about 6 months, these recycling carts are only dumped every other week. So
right.
there's only so many opportunities to dump them and to have the contamination that 3 warnings within 6 months. I mean, there's probably not gonna be a whole lot of that. And so we did some math. I think 5% is what we kind of
We only
anticipated.
went with 5%.
5% of the predicted 15,000
Okay,
15,000 tags, right? And of those 15,000, we threw a number out there. It's a dartboard number, but 5% of those getting to the point that we were gonna skip them.
Okay.
And the reason these numbers had to be selected is because we had to provide information on costs in
Okay.
advance. And so these are predictions based on historic misbehavior.
Got it.
And we'll see once we've done this.
And as far as the funding goes, I guess maybe we should talk about that. So we're not getting a lump sum check from RMA. It's a pay as you go kind of deal. So we're not leaving money on the table, so to speak. So it's not like we're getting the money and then we're doing this program and pulling out of those funds. We're going to be doing this program, asking for reimbursement, getting paid for what we end up doing. So
Okay.
we aren't leaving any money, we're not leaving any dollars on the table.
It's
So to
just
speak.
you're projecting what you believe the amounts will be, but we don't know what they are yet. Until it happens.
Yeah.
And then we'll readjust.
Yeah, that's,
When numbers come in, if it's lower or higher, then you'll readjust.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
I think I hit on all this page. This was kind of our grand total, but we had met with,
And that's for the whole area.
that was for everything.
Yeah.
That was a very conservative approach. Part of our thing, we didn't want to get too close to spending all the dollars, because then if we go past it, now you're burdening all the communities on the cost of serve. Like, we didn't want to chance that.
And
So,
Salem, because we're the largest area, we're highest. I mean, it was like, what, 185,000 for us alone? No,
It's like 500.
Well, population, we're about 180,000, yeah. We're about
popular.
50% of the county.
Yeah, okay. And but all the other communities have their fees based on, again, population and participation within the boundaries that we have.
and so that kind of finishes up the kind of the contamination reduction plan as far as what we're doing with the recycling carts out on the curb and all that. And real quickly, I don't know how much time you gave me, Ryan, but I just kind of want to show some slides of some other ideas we as a haulers group had come up with where we could also do some education outside of that. So
Yeah, let's show those.
these are called these little portable kiosks. So they stack together. And we have at our Haulers Association, Kennedy, she's been here before. She's our recycling coordinator, and she goes to schools come to our facility, a resource, and she helps educate kids in the community on recycling. And so these all, as you kind of see the diagram, one would be for the commingled recycling, one would be for yard waste, one would be for garbage. And then I think, what was the last
This is a
one?
special recycling.
Special or
Hazardous.
maybe hazardous stuff.
Yeah.
And they would be clear parts and maybe like the lids would be colored with what our programs are colored by, so like blue for the recycling, etc. And they would have real examples or like fake examples of real material inside of these. And so it's just it would be an extra educational tool.
Yeah, and so school kids could come to the site, or the hope was maybe having a mobile unit that would go out, a truck that would, van that goes out and educates, and that might be even beyond just schools.
Yeah. So this was for, these portable kiosks. Was there a question on that?
Go ahead, Dr. Brown.
Oh, I had one.
Is that 17,000? Is that the cost or is that what we're saving?
No, that would be the cost to produce two sets of these
Just
educational
the
kiosks.
cost for having these instructional tools.
Got it. And so if you said that's the cost for two
Two sets.
Two
Yep.
sets.
sets. Is that like, I have no idea. Is that like the average price? Are we paying too much, too little? What do you think?
These are very unique. So we work with a company that would design these, and it's a whole third party that would build these. They don't exist currently. These would be a brand new idea,
Custom
a
built.
custom
It's
built.
custom built, and that's the cost for the custom built, because again, this is all a new educational
Right.
process.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I
Also
was
learning.
only asking because I wasn't sure, like comparatively with other cities, if the 17,000 was high or low, if this was also done in other counties.
I don't think this idea is getting done. We're pretty proud of coming up with this idea. We think it's pretty cool, pretty unique, a good
Oh,
visual
good.
way to show kids and show the community. It's not just for kids, it's for everybody.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So this was one idea we had.
This is the Barney one.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. On this one, okay, as a teacher, I'm thinking, I mean, students would really have fun being given a big container of all the stuff mixed up, and then they're
That's
asked
exactly
to,
what we've thought about. Yeah.
asked to put it in
Yeah, that's
and
what
take
they're
it to schools and multifamily complexes, et cetera. Because I remember back when we started recycling in 60s, et cetera, and 70s, it was the programs that were pushed at school that we took home to our parents that got things going.
Right.
And so. I
So
like this
that's the
idea.
goal, is to get to the kids, but it could be something that a neighborhood association could check out. And
Sure.
have them trade, or
Okay.
somebody else could, or Kennedy could schedule a time to come to a small group, a community meeting.
Sure.
League of Oregon, who knows? So anyway,
Yeah.
this was what was decided on for education, part of the education outreach.
Okay, and it's important to have some of those items that are really on that gray line, like clamshells and stuff, for example, that people.
Clamshells are not a gray line. They can't go in the recycling.
Well, people don't know that though.
Well, that's what we have to educate them.
Well, I know, I'm just saying, we gotta make sure there are plenty of those things that are like, okay, I gotta.
Yeah, the
think
wrong
about
things.
this.
There has to be the wrong things switched.
Sure.
And they're gonna have like little shocker devices on it if you put it in the wrong container.
You must have got some ideas from me.
There's a little deeper at least.
So those were the kiosk things. This would be a bigger unit. So this would be for our education room at Resource. We're designing this education room. I think Ryan talked on it last meeting. And it's a two-sided, like you see, it's about 6 feet tall, 3 feet wide. It's big. So on each side, it would have these interactive like lights that could light up and things that people or kids would be able to flip or turn or whatever, it would light up and it would show them where things are supposed to go. And yeah, it's a really cool way to, once again, provide education in a fun way, in a visual way at
And
our
it's something that also has to be created.
This is, yeah, it'd be the similar company. I don't know if it's the exact same company that would make those other kiosks, but yeah, this is a special made.
Well, Ryan, you're gonna be designing games.
But I looked at this as I was looking at some of the designs. This to me felt very OMSI-esque.
Mhm,
You know,
yes,
this is kind
exactly.
of interactive
Sure.
educational type of units. And they're portable and move, I mean, these have wheels so they can move around the room and they can kind of adjust the feel of the room and that for different types of education.
When at the Gilbert House.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up OMSI because we originally got quoted for like an OMSI-esque type education room. and Little outside of our budget, so that one kind of got,
You don't think that the RMA would pay for that one?
I don't think so.
But it's the same type of interactive educational type
Yeah,
of.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that some of the funding could go to help schools to do field trips?
Yeah, so we've talked about that too, as far as our association, we're more than willing to help pay for like the buses and all that to get there, but one thing that got brought up is some teachers have talked to us about how, you only get so many field trips, and then the amount of chaperones you need, like, there's a lot of barriers outside of just dollars
Sure.
to get there to go,
Sure.
and we are getting them, and we're getting more than we have in the past, but
Okay,
we realize there are barriers there, and that's why we liked these portable
right,
kiosks so that
Right.
we could actually go to them.
right.
And then our pretty outlandish idea is, well, I'll just go to it now. So this is an idea we came up with. And so it was actually Ryan's idea. I'm gonna give him credit where it's due, but it's like the portable library, right? Is that?
Yeah, the bookmobile.
The bookmobile.
That's where I got the idea, is we have a
Yeah.
bookmobile from the library. So if we had a recycle mobile or trash mobile or whatever you want to call it.
Contamination reduction mobile.
There you go,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Because it has to have
Yeah.
a specific.
Yeah.
But the idea here was, so in Marion County, we do have pretty rural towns, smaller cities, smaller towns. You go up the canyon, it's hard to get them to come to our facility, a resource to educate them. And we thought it might be better to have a mobile education vehicle. And so we haven't put a whole lot of energy into this. It's just an idea, but in one quick Google search, we found like kind of what we were talking about. That picture
So
there.
somebody out there is already.
Somebody out there is already doing it, so sorry, Lance, we can't copyright it, but
Is it electric?
but that was a fun idea if we wanted
We
to
don't-
get some of our extra dollars on that. Let me go back up. So we talked about our haulers association is kind of gonna be facilitating this whole program, so. In the earlier part where we talked about the drivers tagging carts and then the office staff doing all that work. Well, how do you quantify that? So
Sure,
we were gonna have our haulers association kind of create a template to where the haulers would report monthly to our haulers association, and then have our haulers association be the one working with Marion County to facilitate the funding and how we're gonna get reimbursed for that. And so talking with Brian and with DEQ, it's not a very cut and dry, like adding an FTE to get funding for that is not, they can't really do it like that, but if you had the maybe Brian can explain it better.
Yeah, at this point, it's been so new, what we did is when we submit, we'll put the dollars in there and kind of boost the numbers the haulers came up with to account for that extra administrative time.
So the calculated amounts that you're talking about that we saw for the cost of materials or something else will be increased a bit. That was the point I was trying to make at that meeting. In that, and even I'm concerned one FTE may not be enough depending upon how busy everybody is. And so again, you'll use the 6 months to get a feel for that, and because they're not going to be wanting to pay for staff, you would increase the cost of the materials because the materials are people involved doing it, so.
Yeah.
Did I say that clearly?
Yeah, and each year we have an opportunity to change the program.
Correct.
So if
You can
it needs
readjust.
as much staff or something else, that was the intent of holding back on it,
Yeah.
at this.
I think I was just very concerned that was the underestimate on how much time it would take someone, but starting out and then can grow from there if necessary.
Yeah, the intent with this was just to show that, yeah, it does take time and dollars to facilitate a program, so. However it's funded, it doesn't really matter, it's just wanting to acknowledge that it is gonna take someone's effort to do it.
Not just one.
And probably not just one, but, just no longer is working, so.
Yeah.
What did you do here, Brian?
It paused out. maybe.
We're almost done, so this slide here is just talking about other events that. We already attend some events, but just wanting to put extra effort into having a booth at different community events. And where we can have those kiosks on display and do some education through different events. And we feel like if we're educating on contamination reduction, we should be able to get funding for that too. So that would be very helpful.
Well, it would certainly be nice whenever there's a city event, to see if we can have a invite to have this happen. At anything that's, being organized by the city, so hopefully we can tag that into responsibilities.
Yeah, we're talking like the homeowners show or like the
Yeah.
garden show, like
Or even
anything,
just
or at the state
things-
fair, the Marion County Fair, things like
Table
that.
and Festival,
Yeah, right. So that's kind of the idea here.
farmers market, if you wanted to go out on Saturdays and things like that, that'd be great.
Exactly. Yep.
On occasion.
I think,
Okay,
well, I think that was pretty much it. Besides, Brian, I want to kind of give you the floor to, anything that I missed or.
well, I'm gonna be asking him to come up because I was gonna give a little summary of just our last meeting and it may provide some comments that Brian might need to make or me asking him a question. So if you're all okay with that, do you have any more questions?
Well, I had a couple of them, but I can wait.
Oh, no, go ahead and
Yeah,
ask them now for
part.
this.
One of the things I was thinking about is residents that, with the recycling carts, when they get contamination that's outside of their control. People that walk by and drop something in their carts, for example.
Yeah, that's always been, that's pretty much the first response out of anybody that we've ever contacted about, hey, we found this in your cart. Oh, someone else did it. That is a very tough one because, we don't have any way to prove it one way. All we know is when we dump a cart, you can see it in the picture of the camera and the hopper of the truck. So, yeah.
Sure. So is there a way to give them some sort of a locking type mechanism, not a key type lock, but something that makes it harder to open it? Cause I don't know about others, but I only dump stuff in my recycling when I'm emptying my container in my house. So it's only every few days. So if I had to go up and actually, like a clip or something that I had, of course, that makes it hard when it comes to dumping it. You
Yep.
have to agree to have it off.
There's
for the day.
no cost effective way to do that, I guess, is
Okay.
the easy answer to say that. That there are, if everyone went to an in-yard service, we would have some pretty big logistical hurdles to
Sure,
figure
sure.
out there, so. That is a current option, if you wanted to have an in-yard service, you could pay that, and you could do that, and you could get that service.
Okay. I
If you're,
understand.
but yeah, if everyone moved to that service, we would have some big problems. We're not just prepared for everyone to switch to that kind of service, so.
Okay.
I think that it would come down to the individual if they're recognizing somebody's putting inappropriate things in their container, somebody else, they just shouldn't put it out until just before the truck is coming to pick it up.
That
There's,
makes sense.
but again, that's like, we want to make everybody behave themselves, and it's not always easy to make everybody behave themselves.
That is another aspect of why we didn't want to
Yeah.
charge people, because when people say that, it's like, how do you argue with that?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we don't want to charge you for something that
They got an angry neighbor.
someone walking their dog, put a poop bag in your
Yeah,
recycling. Like,
that
yeah,
was.
that stinks. No pun intended. But, yeah, we don't want to charge people for that. So.
Yeah,
I understand. Well, it'll help having the uniform color on.
Yeah.
All over. Of course, we have that.
what else?
After the 3 warnings, let's see, and the cart doesn't get picked up, does the cart get identified in some certain way?
So the carts all have serial numbers on them, so, which are all attached to customer accounts and all that. So we know who they belong to for the most part. There are some areas where they get mixed up, but is that kind of what you're asking? Like how to know those parts?
I know you know that. How would people, I'm thinking more community shaming here, encouraging people.
Unless they saw the cart lid up, they wouldn't know
Okay.
that.
Are we concerned about community sharing or are we?
Yeah.
pro
No,
community sharing?
I'm thinking about ways to make people that are constantly.
Sometimes
contaminating
the
their
social
recycling.
pressure is actually good, so.
I know, that's what I was kind of thinking, how could this be kind of a gentle type thing when this red tag stays on here or something, you know?
Red tag does look important.
I just, anyway,
That's a good
I
question.
was just
yeah.
curious.
Well, we want it noticed, but at the same time, they can, when they bring their card in, people might know, but.
Okay, I was just throwing it out there. I don't have any other questions because they'll probably come up with,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, folks.
You've done so much work on this. I mean, you've come to all the meetings and really, you really proved,
Well, the work's about to begin if this
Yeah.
actually goes into effect, so.
but you've done a lot. So thank you for all of that.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
So, so what I did, Brian, we have Brian May stepping up now, who is the liaison, I guess, staff, you and Corey, I guess. I feel like you and Corey are both kind of coexisting. We had a recent meeting and I thought, I hadn't done this yet before, and so I just did a little summary of it. And if your plan is to talk about where we are, then maybe I don't need to do my summary.
I wasn't planning on speaking.
Okay, so I'll just give the committee just some information. When we meet, it's a fairly large group. How many are in there?
I think there's 22.
22. And this is a wide range of education level, far as what solid waste, what happens with solid waste and the program, starting this program up. And so a lot of what we've been doing is getting everybody up to speed on the purpose of the RMA and how to implement it. A lot of great discussion. And I think that for those that don't have the correct color cards, I think they're excited to be part of this collective. And they ask questions too about contamination and problems, with getting picked up or not getting picked up. But this last one did speak about the incinerator. And so I wanted to just say that Marion County has continued to have to adjust to the loss of the revenue from ReWorld, and that the revenue previously subsidized transfer stations and household hazardous waste. So, and you might be able to speak to this better than I, Brian, that they've had to reduce the hours of availability for the transfer centers and specifically the hazardous waste because of the cost of managing them. And so they're operating in a tight fiscal environment, which might mean that costs will come down the road. Maybe should I just add that to it? And that even the cost saving measures is they've reduced staffing by 2 full-time employees.
5 total.
5. And core programs such as the battery recycling and styrofoam recycling they're keeping them. And they're even rather minimal in availability already. Let's see, transfer station operations have been streamlined, including discontinuing the lift bed. And maybe we should speak to that because I don't know what it's.
You betcha. So at our North Marion transfer station, we've removed what they call lift bed. So any type of a trailer or a truck that has a lifting mechanism has been removed, and they're cumbersome to handle, but traditionally they come with heavy materials, construction demolition materials. So the intent is to not have those dumped and then touched again and reloaded and hauled to resource to be processed, is to direct that traffic directly to the facility that's going to process it. One thing that helps is it reduces kind of contamination, kind of like our combing. The more things we put into a box or a cart or whatever, it gets messier. So by having that go direct, that material is cleaner and it is is highly recoverable in comparison to mixing up all the other garbage at transfer stations. But that's the biggest shift. We have not done that at Skirts. But right now we've done it just at North Marion. So that's where we're making that big reduction.
And I'm gonna just go back to hazardous waste. It's only open one day per week, which is Thursday, which is workday hours, 8 to 5. And closed completely December and January. That was based on usage. I suggested that if they could maybe do a Saturday a month or something, because, you know, having it on a time period where most people are working, it really is a struggle to get hazardous waste. And so what happens to that hazardous waste? It goes in places it shouldn't be. So anyway, these are all things that Marion County is looking at because of loss of revenue and trying to figure out how to manage that. Then we've heard all about the Remodernization Act, and so all of that information that I was going to share has been presented. And then we also talked about some of the legislative updates. And this short session is underway, and several bills will impact solid waste. The House Bill 4030 addresses producer responsibility for packaging. House Bill 4144 would require producers of batteries to fund, implement battery recycling programs. So that must not be part of the Remodernization Act if it's batteries.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
It's a
Separate,
standalone.
it's a separate thing. And this could shift burdens and operational responsibilities in future years. So, you know, we're recognizing garbage costs a lot of money. And as things close or other things open, or have other opportunities, it's a shifting of revenue and funding. And so we will continue to see impacts on this for some time. And I'll even state to the goal of zero waste. We all know zero waste is going to be really hard to ever get to, even just because of management of the materials that people use. So it's going to be a continuation struggle. And so 5 key takeaways. Regional solid waste is stabilizing but remains fiscally constrained. Does that sound like a correct term? Core services are being preserved, but at reduced service levels. Legislative changes could improve long-term funding alignment by shifting responsibility to the upstream producers instead of those managing it. And continued regional coordination is essential to protect ratepayers while meeting state mandates. And that the only thing I'll say is this committee continues to focus on fiscal responsibility, maintaining core positions, and ensuring compliance within state laws, protecting our residents from unnecessary rate impacts. So those are the goals of the committee. It is hard to corral the cats and get everything organized. And what I think I'll let you talk about is how at the last meeting, you're looking at having some subcategories of committees, because that's where the work will really get done. And then it'll be shared with the larger group, because it is time consuming to get the larger group to be able to focus in on some of those essentials.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. One of the biggest things, we were going into agenda planning with our chair and our vice chair, Corey and I, and we started talking about this group that met once a month, and members of your staff have attended regularly for us, and it's a waste reduction group, and it's basically meant for collaboration for our OTR and our RMA requirements, and it was folks around social media, messaging, actual compliance with OTR, making sure that we are all covering our bases for jurisdictions. Like I said, we were meeting monthly, and both Commissioner Cameron and Mayor Lonergan looked at us with that.
Waste.
If we don't want elected officials looking at you, that means I know nothing that you're talking about. And they were astonished to know that this group's been meeting for almost 3 years. So in that conversation, the idea was kind of brought up as, well, maybe we should formalize this group because they're doing so much good work in the area of waste reduction and contamination. We should tuck this under the MMAC and formalize it as a subcommittee. So that we are bringing more attention to these things, and they're just not quietly happening. Our haulers association and other jurisdictions, that we bring it more to light in this manner. So the group, Courtney and I had talked with, was welcome to that idea of being tucked underneath. MAC was more than interested, and it's nice having kind of at least 8 of the 20 some jurisdictions in Marion County represented at that table, sitting there going, yeah, we want to know more. We want to be part of this. And to your point, we'll be able to get into more weeds in those subcommittees and some of those smaller groups, instead of trying to herd 22 cats. It'll hopefully be more like 8 or 10. And we can still bring that information back to a table that can kind of get that thumbs up and move forward.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of good work. It's been challenging, to get this together in quite a large area. And so I really appreciate all the work that the haulers have done and the members of the committees. I think I really did agree with the idea of having subcommittees, because that's where they can really get the work done and then brought back to the larger group. And again, part of that is just for them to understand how it's going to be implemented and be able to get that information to me so I can get it to solid waste, and solid waste can get it to council. It'll be all of that. And so this was the first time that I sort of summarized what happened at the meeting. And I thought that what I'll try to do is do this every time and have this as part of the information in our agenda, so
That'd be great.
that then everybody can see it. And if we go to council, that could be within the agendas and information. And so anyway, if you all think that that would be a good idea, I'll continue to do that when I go to a meeting. Just summarize it. Do you have some questions for Brian?
No, not from the meeting or anything like that. And we primarily talked about residential. When are we going to get into multifamily? What do schools do? Assisted living
Great
facilities.
question. So, yeah, I see that being part of those MAC responsibilities in that subcommittee as we evolve through RMA. We know that multifamily from a DEQ level, that can kind of jokingly keeps getting kicked, because we know that's a huge tackle. And with the implementation of RMA, I think they just want to get more time and experience. And then I think we'll see that probably in 2027, 2028, that is where they're looking to really tackle that and kind of force us to do something.
Okay.
And your suggestion about locking down the recycling might be something that apartment units, might have to use, so that people are dumping, in a large bin, but that the residents there would have a key so they could put their recycling in and then have it locked down in the haulers, because it would be a different truck taking that away. Okay, I'm assuming in larger, then they'd have the key and could unlock it. So, there might be possibilities of your
Or a locked
suggestion.
enclosure or something or other,
Yeah.
or something.
When we go back to the shot collar idea.
So what are they doing at schools in terms of recycling, et cetera? Do they have a program in the school district?
Great question, and I would look at Kennedy if she was here.
As far as what do they have for containers, or how do they?
Well, I was just trying to kind of curious. I'm thinking of a larger group, and we've been talking about education, and so do they actually participate in the recycling program at
So there
schools?
was at one point a very active green schools program
Okay.
that was rolled out. Yeah, I think it's kind of died off over time. But I think that that's something that we talk about, that you have to start us young. Because for yards or whatever else, that's the best way, is to let the kids educate us adults.
Yeah.
That don't know better. So
Sure,
hopefully we can
sure.
get back into that aspect.
Okay, more of the subcommittee work.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, great.
Councilor
Yeah.
Barton, if I might.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Public Works does have an education and outreach program within which goes into schools, which does pretty much exactly what we are talking about here. Intensive environmental education, not only from the streams and waterways, but also for what to put, what not to put in which part of the waste stream.
Okay,
So I brought this up earlier once in the meeting, that there might be an opportunity to collaborate to make sure
sure,
some
that makes sense.
pieces continue. While we are already there in schools, thereby relieving some of that responsibility within the schools in Salem back to the city's side of things, whereas portions can still be done for the other cities in the county through the haulers program or what have you through the main account.
Okay.
So we should
Yeah,
probably
thanks for the
look at that.
reminder.
It might not be right for this year because it's already budget time. We have already finished our budget, but it might be something we should work on for at least the next 1 month.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, Brian. I brought you up sooner than I should have, so we're gonna go back to the official agenda and we'll have Juliana Douglas talk about the waste reduction policy. Thank you for being here. I believe you also have a presentation for us.
Thank you. Juliana Douglas, Campus Manager, thank you so much for having me today. And so I was asked to look at a draft policy. So I went ahead and I wrote one because I figured it would be a little bit easier to facilitate a conversation around there being something in writing to just go through, and then we can kind of go back from that. So conversations are encouraged for this draft. So I appreciate just jump in when you have anything. So why would we want to write a policy? It provides a framework for future decisions, programs, things like that. And then we wanted to align it directionally with the statewide programs, and that's namely the Recycling and Modernization Act. And then we're looking to support ourselves in grant funding and grant applications. And that can be really vague, but the city having a policy is something that almost all grants ask about. So they want to know if there is community support for these types of initiatives. And then the kind of key bits that I was told to look at were aspirational but achievable. So we wanted it to be really kind of honing in on that. And just based on how the city operates, this is aspirational, and it's based on education and outreach to enact behavior change amongst residents and commercial entities in the city. And then why were these metrics selected? So I know that most of these you're looking at zero waste, and why did we not go with zero waste, which is a big and valid question. What we were looking at was based on waste characterization studies, what could be diverted after the RMA is implemented. I looked at what 90% of that would be. So understanding that we would have some people that aren't doing things right. And then that's kind of how I got that 56% metric. But then overall, we know that we want to focus more on waste reduction than recycling, because recycling can't fix the solution, can't fix the problem. And so that's the general gist of why we chose what we chose. Again, proposed prioritizations, waste prevention is the top one because it has the biggest climate benefits, not removing and not extracting those resources from the environment to make what eventually turns into waste. Promoting circular economy, reducing waste of concern. So that's going to be your food, textile, electronics, hazardous. Food waste is the highest climate impact, so it has the most emissions associated with it. And then we want to meet obligations for standardized recycling under the Uniform Statewide Collection List, and programming for expanding composting and recycling in multifamily. Then we also wanted to acknowledge that there are environmental justice considerations in waste disposal. And we wanted to acknowledge that the community has really voiced that they want to limit, if not eliminate, incineration. So we were talking about keeping it to when it's legally required, or when that is the best of all the bad options to do that with them. And so this isn't in the intention, it's not a press release policy of City of Salem is going zero waste. It's something that's like, here is something that we are trying for.
Mhm.
It's aspirational, but it's in the realm of,
It's possible.
yes,
It's possible.
yes. And then a couple other just side notes here. State definitions include incineration in recovery, and that is reflected on some of the items here. The city does not have control over what goes in any bin, unfortunately. So we do really rely on our community to be a partner in this.
To do the right thing.
Yes. And the waste characterization changes dramatically over time. So if we look back 10 years, we would see a very different waste stream in the different bins. And so not being material specific or outcome specific. So we aren't saying we want a certain recovery rate. We aren't saying we want any certain items to change. We're saying that we want overall to have less waste going to the landfill. And so that's one of the directions I took with this. Waste reduction is more difficult to track or quantify, because how can you say, like, I chose not to get a single-use bag kind of thing for a bigger picture. And then we want to look at achieving this goal through waste reduction, reuse, recycling, composting, and reducing product consumption. And to achieve this, it would really be the community working on this. And then data is only available at the county level for these items. So even if we choose a city metric, we'll be looking at the county.
Okay.
And then we also want
So we can
to,
point fingers and blame somebody else.
it's always an option. It's always an option. And then we did want to make sure that we were focusing on how this aligns with the state's goals. And then just to give us an idea of what our goal is, we have some data on so the baseline year aligning with the Salem Climate Action Plan. 2022 is the most recent I had for most of these metrics. The greenhouse gas emissions, we only have a 2021 of that, but otherwise it's pretty comparable. And then that goal for 2050. And again, not lining out everything, we're just having one kind of overarching goal. So opening it up for questions.
Thank you very much for this work. I had asked that we have this policy put together, and so I sincerely appreciate all the work, and I recognize that you don't have necessarily all of the data based on as changes unfold with the RMA and potentially another landfill. So it's going to be one of those beasts again that will have sort of constant movement. And though I do understand the idea of zero waste goals, I think we have to be realistic in the sense of narrow, maybe not that overarching goal, but as you said, try to get correction on recycling, get more food waste because that's creating more methane. So we can look at it in the sense of overall decreasing without necessarily saying that it's trying to get to zero waste. I mean, I know I'm still going to use tissues, especially when I have, congestion. And where does that go? So you have to figure out how you get rid of it. So I recognize and I thank Mr. Shepke for keeping our feet to the fire and achieving these goals. But at the same time, I also recognize the reality of the goals. And I don't know how many times zero waste is in climate action. I Yeah, that's what you told us, but I hadn't done that search, so maybe we can learn more about that. But I feel like this is certainly an excellent start. I think all of us on this committee also feel that after we get through the RMA, a big push is going to be on food waste management. And I know every time I think, should I put this last spoonful into my trash? Or do I walk out to my green bin and drop it in there? All of those things will come with time. And to change behavior, it takes time. And it also takes education first and then knowledge on how to do it and make sure that we're doing it right so that we don't try to overcorrect and then everybody's making mistakes. That's how I see it. Do you have any questions? Counselor Brown, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Thank you. Counselor Varney?
Not really questions, comments, well, maybe questions.
Yeah, go right ahead.
No, thank you for bringing the policy forward. I think that our overarching goal, aspirational goal is obviously zero waste. I don't have a problem with having that in our document, but I also agree with we need to be realistic about our goals. And I was wondering if we could set specific goals or benchmarks for, I don't know, 2035 or 2030, 2040, 2050, something where we could see a trend that we're getting a reduction potentially. Because I'm concerned when I look up here and see the per capita generated increasing rather than even just staying neutral. It's becoming more and more challenging. We're creating more and more waste. And that's just
That's partly
20,
population.
yeah, and that's just
So-
2016 to 2022.
Yeah, it's we're looking at per capita, so then we can have that population growth and not be constricted by like overall. Yeah. But what we do know happened between 2016 and 2022 was the China sword, where we were not able to get a lot of our recycling to those end markets. And so that's a big driver. The other one is COVID, and that caused a lot of additional single waste, a lot of additional recycling as well. The cardboard box industry really boomed then. So we've just had a lot of changes in waste characterization in even just those 5 years, 6 years. I can do math.
Yeah. No, I agree. And those were things that exacerbated the whole issue. And I can certainly understand that. Of course, yeah, we have a lot of cardboard, don't we? Yeah, I don't know how we're going to address it, but I think having kind of a series of goals or benchmarks or milestones, or at least something to kind of shoot for would help to see how we're tracking. Let's see,
Did you have something in there for tracking? I thought.
concerned about. Okay, I already got that. And this is just for the city of Salem, correct? This is our city policy. I think it's good for us to have a policy, and I think it should align as closely as possible with our climate action plan.
And I think that's what you drew on.
Yeah.
And the climate action plan strategies regarding zero waste, just so then we're all on the same page. While it is mentioned several times in the climate action plan to have zero waste, in the strategies themselves, the only place that it's mentioned is materials and waste management objective 3, which is to set a goal to achieve zero waste, meaning at least 90% is diverted from landfilling through waste reduction, reuse, recycling, and composting in municipal operations. And that covers strategies.
That's right. You already told me that. Yeah.
Strategies 09 to 14. So that is where it's mentioned in the strategies. It is mentioned in the overall plan a few more times. And there's also some like glossary terms where it's mentioned as well.
Thank you for clarifying that, Julia. That's good. Because I did look through it. I even created a little summary. So thank you.
Can I ask, what's the difference between the Opportunity to Recycle Act and the RMA, the Recycling Modernization Act? I was just curious.
There are differences, but they're also kind of together.
Okay, I didn't know if there were differences between the two.
Yeah, so the opportunity to recycle act is kind of the overarching act.
Okay,
RMA is now being sucked in as a component or an update to the OTR.
a way to get there, basically.
Yes, additional, what we're doing, additional elements, additional recycling and education.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Just one question,
It's recycling compliance, if you think about that.
okay. So, yeah, I think that. Well, this isn't, in city, again, school districts, I'd be curious to find out, I guess I could reach out to them and see if they have, or if they're developing a food waste reduction policy. You know, there's a lot within our.
Yeah, with schools, they serve a lot of meals.
Yeah,
So that would be certainly,
but just a comment. Everything else,
Yeah.
thank you.
we want to get people to do the right thing, right? Again, thank you for all that work.
Oh.
Yes,
There
Natin,
are
go right ahead.
companies around in the valley, like Ecology, which deal with food waste. Because we get waste claims from them, which basically take food waste from the restaurants and,
Right,
they generate useful product out of it for feed or plants or watering plants.
yes,
It's but we do know that they take in food waste. I think there might be opportunities where diversion can happen of that waste stream to those kind of companies which do that. I think there are two of them, one in Albany and one in Almsville.
Okay.
yeah, I think it's, it really comes for food waste, it really comes down to the rapid pickup of materials in containers that can manage it, and so that's like a whole nother thing. Let's get through the RMA. Let's begin to figure out what we can do to improve food collection, not just with the and for those in the households, you can, it's easier because if you have your green waste already, you can just put it there. Then there's a lot of places that are preparing food or have leftover food, and how do we manage that?
And again, the waste, the waste prevention is really key there, because if you're thinking about the biggest impact to both individuals and the community as a whole, the average family of four, NRDC's most recent report shows over $2,000 a year in food that was purchased and never touched and
Yep.
thrown away. And so
Yep.
that is really the part that like we would love to address the most.
Yeah, it is amazing how much, I think that's going to Costco and buying a lot of things that then are outdated. So, or they've become outdated before use. All right, again, thank you. So I guess my next question would be, with this policy in place, do we feel that we need to make any amendments or changes to it, or do we adopt it? Or do we have that discussion later and then have a motion next time?
Yeah, so that was a question I had. This was an information item, so it's a new topic. I mean, we've talked about it at the committee level, but we haven't seen an actual draft policy, so we just wanted to bring this as an information item today to get feedback from you all. And then my question was, next time, if you'd like to see some more formal, where it would land in the existing solid waste policy, and a motion to recommend council adoption.
So the existing solid waste policy, is it a single policy?
Yes,
Could you send that to all of us again?
yes, happy to do that.
What I'd like to do is review the current policy and then see if we just say it fits. This policy fits within that policy, because that's where I was starting to question, like how many policies does a committee have before it becomes more like an overarching management plan or a master plan. I wasn't sure how that works. Anybody can answer
I
that?
mean, ultimately, it's a city council policy, and so there are dozens, I don't know how many
It's just
city
a
council policies.
collective of policies that
Yeah.
are solid waste, okay.
Yeah,
How about if we look, how, is it okay with you, the two of you to go ahead? Yes, go ahead, Dr. Brown.
So Councilor Nishioka, so when we think about moving forward in a decision and just kind of planning, will that be something that it'll just be us, this particular group? Or will we have to have a work session with the entire council?
I don't believe it would be a work session. What we'll need to do is establish if we want the policy as written by Juliana to be included in the solid waste policy. And then that would come to council for approval. And my guess is it would be an information report unless there was.
It wouldn't, it would be an action item.
Oh, it would
Oh.
be.
Yeah, because they would need to adopt the policy, the city
So
council.
then it would be in consent calendar, or would it be a presentation?
A presentation, wouldn't it?
We could do either.
Okay, so then we should be tasked, this committee should be tasked to review the policy, that this new policy as something that we would vote on and then decide how we would want it then move forward to council.
Yeah.
Am I hearing correctly?
Yeah, so what we can do for next time is kind of fit it into where we would think it would land in the existing policy. Be sure to share the existing policy with you all. And then we'll put it as an action item on your next agenda,
On the,
if that
on
suits
the,
the committee.
on the solid waste agenda,
Yes,
and then make decisions as to where it goes into the council. How it gets to the council.
yeah. And so then if you all felt comfortable moving it forward to the city council, then we could have that conversation at that time, whether you would like a presentation or what you all felt would be best.
Okay. Does that make sense? So we're going to be sent the current solid waste policy for our review. And then next meeting, which Counselor Varney won't be here, we'll discuss as an action item acceptance of Juliana's policy to go with our current solid waste policy. Or if we have further questions, we can discuss those, or further suggestions. We can say, we'd like to see this happen, approve it, or have other requests made. And then once we finalize that, then we can also discuss how we want it to see come to council.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, that makes sense, because there are some things that we talked about today that we'd like to see changed or added or whatever. I think broad policy, goal of zero waste, performance metrics. Just a few things I've just been kind of thinking about. I did a couple of weeks ago review the climate action plan section that's in our solid waste policy.
I did too.
But I don't remember all that it was talking about. I just knew that we were going to be talking about this, so.
Yeah, well, thanks
I
for
need-
doing that. So I would appreciate if any of the suggestions that you have that are for this policy, bring that to, bring that to us. Email us or email Callie so that we all understand what it is that you're looking at, so we can have a robust discussion and see if we all agree or want action on those changes.
Okay,
Yeah, I would ask that you just email me just
Sure.
to keep.
Keep the
Makes sense.
flow of conversation down.
Yes, exactly.
And so then that way we can hear each, if Dr. Brown has some suggestions, we can hear at the next meeting. And if we're not quite ready to pass it until we see those changes that are recommended, then we can wait. And that would be a time when you would be back. My guess is we probably wouldn't be voting until April.
no, and I may actually be at the next meeting. Some things are a little bit up in the air. I also wanted to mention with the work plan for the climate action plan committee, since this was discussed as an item in our 2026 work plan, we may want to, I don't know, we need some input from that committee too. I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay? She's dutifully taking notes. All right.
Okay.
I think we have a plan. It'll be on the agenda as an action item. We may pass it as it is, or we may make amendments to then be brought back.
Yeah.
Does that sound,
Either way works.
I just want to make sure I'm streaming the right soundbite here.
Yeah, we can talk about it again in April if
Yeah.
the committee decides.
So.
And Councilor Nishioka,
Yes.
before our time expires, is this Mr. Zink's last meeting?
Well, that is actually.
Yeah, that is, in fact, do you have time to stay 5 more minutes?
I got 3.
Okay,
This will take less than that. So.
Okay.
Brian has graciously agreed to attend these for at least another few times.
at least,
as I'm needed.
Yeah.
as long as he's.
We're in the middle of recruitment for a replacement for Ryan, if that's possible. And we're having first interviews next week. Okay, so things are moving right along. We might
Got
have
it.
someone to attend next meeting or the following. So
So at this point, Mr. Zink is double dutying his new job and still helping us here. And hopefully we'll find someone that can come in and deal with all of us.
Yeah, which that's always a highlight, I'm sure, right, Mr. Zink?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Now-
that's a bonus of the job.
Yeah, right, sure. Yeah, let's go with that one. But are you staying with the city of Salem or are you transitioning out completely?
I am staying with the city of Salem, so.
Okay,
officially-
okay, good.
Yep, officially December 1st, I took the position of business administration manager for the 911 call center.
Got it. Well, I definitely want to follow Councilman Shoke with just a huge appreciation to this entire team. And of course, the presentations that were done earlier. I can't remember the gentleman's name with the hat, but great job on just updating us. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I think then I shall call the meeting adjourned.
All right.
you.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Thank you.